the idea of committing a crime against jazz is pretty dumb. It's pretty silly, honestly. But arguably, that's what Joshua Redman did when he released Elastic in 2003. An album that is awesome, but was a bit of a departure from his previous work. And so that's where the name of the song, Jazz Crimes, comes from. But the actual history of the song and the sort of the ideology of taking something in jazz tradition and kind of turning it on its head is one that sort of existed for a while before that. And I think it's an interesting analogy that I'd like to explore with you a little here. So that's what we're going to do in this video. We will have a listen to the full song, Jazz Crimes by Joshua Redman, towards the end of it. But to get us there, let's talk about the record, shall we? So Joshua Redman, here he is, looking fabulous on the front of that particular album. He was born in 1969, son of the jazz saxophonist Dewey Redman, who played with Ornette Coleman, Keith Jarrett, Paul Motian, among others. Although he was raised by his mother exclusively, a Jewish woman. So he was raised Jewish, which is, cool cultural background. He started playing sax at the age of 10 and then went to college before moving to New York City to play saxophone. He won the Thelonious Monk Jazz Sax Competition in 1991, and I mention that because we're going to talk about Thelonious Monk later. So I thought it might be funny to do so. He signed to Warner and then released his first debut album in 1993. At this point, he's around 24 years old, so he's doing rather well, all things considered. He really was a bit of a breakthrough artist. And so throughout the rest of the 90s, he records, half a dozen albums or so. In fact, Elastic is his sixth album. His fifth album was released in 2000. So, he makes a name for himself, mostly as an acoustic musician. So playing saxophone, obviously, but with, an acoustic band, playing fairly traditional but modern jazz style music. So when he releases Elastic, things sort of change a little bit. And the reason why is because he's playing with a new band, specifically with Sam Yahel and Brian Blade. So Brian Blade there in the middle, Joshua Redman on the left, and then Sam Yahel, an organist and keyboard player there on the right. All sort of stalwarts of that sort of New York jazz scene at the time. But they had played live in various forms. Sam Yahel's trio for a while, I think, had Brian Blade and Peter Bernstein on guitar. And so Joshua Redman sort of subbed in at one point, and they sort of started playing and recorded just before Elastic came out, Ya 3 or possibly Ya Cubed. I haven't actually heard it said out loud. So if you know what the actual pronunciation of this particular band is, please leave a note in the comments. This is the album they put out about a year before this Elastic came out. And so they had sort of been playing more electric music for some time. So that's why Elastic was this kind of departure for Redman, because it uses electric instruments. There's a lot of overdubs that he would record again on saxophone. It's very funky. It's very groove driven. It's less jazz, essentially, less stylistically sort of traditional than Joshua Redman had been known for. So, in that sense, he sort of wanted to explore the idea of committing a jazz crime. And that's where the name of the song comes from. So let's have a chat about the music. So the reason I want to talk about the idea of jazz crimes as part of a history of upturning jazz traditions is because it's kind of a contrafact. Not really, though. It is a rhythmic song, and I'll play the start of it for you shortly, but it's got a very sort of conspicuous rhythmic hook to it, melody, motif, if you will. And as I say, you'll hear that. That's very similar to what Thelonious Monk did on a song called Evidence. Now, we'll hear that in a minute as well, but Evidence is a contrafact in itself of a song called Just You, Just Me, which was originally written for this Marion Davies film, Mary Ann from 1929. And clearly the fact that there was sound in a film was still a novelty at this point. So the song comes out here. It's kind of vaguely popular. It's not played by jazz musicians especially often. It's very corny as a song, with the lyrics especially so. And so it's really sort of mostly just sung by people like Nat King Cole, the more sort of pop crossover-y as opposed to sort of more jazz focused singers. So let's have just a little listen to Nat King Cole's version of the song, because it's actually really quite good. That is the wrong lead sheet. So why don't we go ahead and switch over to the correct one? It's pretty standard. I think it's probably just best if we play the tune and I'll just play we're just going to play the first minute or so of it. Okay, here is Nat King Cole with Just You, Just Me.
Just you, just me. Let's find a cozy spot to cuddle and woo. Just us, just we. I've missed an awful lot. My trouble is you. Oh, gee, what are your charms for? What are my arms for? Use your imagination. Just you, just me. I'll tie a lover's knot around wonderful you.
Okay, so that's that particular tune. I didn't actually play this song before, and I might have to look a little bit closer into that lead sheet because it seems a bit sus to me. Anyway, let's not talk about that anymore. That's the song. That was Nat King Cole's version of Just You, Just Me. It's nice. It's, it's pretty inoffensive, honestly. But Thelonious Monk, who is a much more quasi-avant-garde musician than many of his contemporaries, rather liked this song. He was probably, of all the sort of folks around this time playing pop songs as jazz recordings, he was the one who was probably playing this song the most of anyone. There's a bunch of different recordings of him playing it, but it also forms the basis of a song that he wrote called Evidence. And it's a bit funny, the little pun that he says there. I've got some more photos of Thelonious, so I'll just play. It's from his later album Underground. Such good album art. Anyway, so Evidence, it's quite funny though, because Just Me, Just You, Just Me, Just Us came to Justice, and that was the version of this, the title of this song, this proto-Evidence, and he turned it into the song Evidence because that was related to justice. Anyway, the big thing that he did here, and this is the point about sort of usurping expectations, right, is that he made a really corny song. He made a contrafact, and by the way, a contrafact is just taking the same chords and making a new melody for it. He turned a really corny song into one of the most challenging, from an audience's perspective, as well as a playing perspective, songs that I think he's ever written. Evidence is a hard song to play, and it's a hard song to listen to, because if you have a look at this rhythmic sort of the pacing of it, it's really strange. There's no phrases. There's no sort of nice melodic lines like there is in Just You, Just Me. It's just these kind of like sparse notes. It goes ba, 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 and it's really kind of unexpected and chaotic almost. And that's obviously very much part of Thelonious Monk's sort of very unique sound. Anyway, let's have a listen to Evidence, which is, again, the same chords as Just You, Just Me, but then totally reinvented. This is a version that I just think, it's not my favorite version of the song, but because it's like dozens of different recordings of Monk playing this particular tune. But I think this is the one that is the easiest to and clearest to listen to in terms of understanding this kind of rhythm. Yeah, so that's evidence. And as you can hear, it's a really different way of playing a jazz tune. Contrafacts typically take a song and maybe they might make a bebop version out of it, a faster melody, something that's a little bit different to the original, but it doesn't normally go full Thelonious. Probably one of the more interesting, certainly the most interesting rhythmically that I know of Thelonious Monk's tunes. Anyway, so let's get back to Joshua Redman, because this is sort of where he starts. He takes this idea of, I think, and okay, this is the conceptual thing, is that he takes a lot of cues from the rhythmic elements of Evidence and turns them into this kind of funk and groove-based song, Jazz Crimes. And what I think is really interesting is this idea that it is a jazz crime to do this kind of traditionalist approach, but then do something different with it. Now, obviously, that's hopefully not something that most people buy into. There are people like Wynton Marsalis who will be a little bit spicy in terms of the kind of stuff they say about what is and isn't jazz. But, fundamentally, Elastic is a result of everything that Joshua Redman has ever listened to, which includes a very long history of non-jazz music, of rock, of soul, of blues, and every musician is like that. And so, I've said it in the past that I tend to be one of those. I think most people are these days pretty, open in terms of like understanding what kind of music is excellent and what music deserves to be, celebrated. So let's have a listen to what Joshua Redman did. And I actually just want to play very quickly just this first 4-bar loop. It repeats twice. So I'm just going to play it twice, and then I'll stop it as soon as Joshua starts playing sax. So that opening is kind of the point. That's the kind of similarity between Evidence and Jazz Crimes. Now, they are not the same rhythm. They are quite different. Jazz Crimes takes 4 bars to get through that sort of main rhythmic motif, whereas Evidence does it in 8. Here you can see those 8 bars laid out. The other thing is Jazz Crimes is, it's funk, it's groove, it's got straight 8s, whereas Evidence has swung 8s. What there is, though, is this very sort of similar approach to starting on an offbeat, then dropping onto the onbeat, going to an offbeat, offbeat, onbeat, onbeat. You have the same sort of thing here, starting on an offbeat, onbeat, off the beat, on the beat, off the beat, on the beat, and the gaps between those beats being fairly arbitrary. Not arbitrary, but kind of there's a bit of randomness to them. And the fact that you don't have that kind of very clear melodic or expected harmonic, a rhythmic sort of pattern to them. That's why the songs, that's where Joshua Redman, I believe, is taking his inspiration from. And that's kind of what he's trying to play on here. And obviously Jazz Crimes itself is a reference to Evidence too. So he's just being very clever. I wouldn't say that this is really any more than a sort of a silly kind of, not silly, lighthearted approach, like stab at the idea of committing jazz crimes. But what it is a very cool way to take that idea that Monk sort of played with and then turn it into something a lot more accessible, really. This is the idea, right? It's about playing something that's kind of chill. All right. That's my thesis. It's not really a thesis. That's just my thoughts about the song. I think it's great. I think Joshua Redman's great. I think Monk's great. Let's have a listen to the song. So it starts off with that intro vamp that we just heard, which we'll hear again. And then Joshua Redman comes in with the A section. He plays it twice. He's playing over Sam Yahel playing. Sam's on organ, so he's playing the bass and the chords. And then there's the B section, which is this section here. Again, these rhythms are Sam's rhythmic figures, and then this is Josh's melodic part. And then we get a return of the A section here. And then it goes back to the B section. So it's A, B, A, B. I know it's listed as A, B, C, D here, but it's A, B, A, B. And then the solos, we've got an open section just over a single chord, which is just a groovy kind of open funk kind of vamp thing. But then Joshua's solo sort of goes from that into the A and the B section chords. So it adds a lot of drama and stuff. It's really rad. And then Brian Blade has a drum solo over this figure here, this rhythmic figure, which is really cool. It's really mad. And then they just do one more. They return after the solo to the A section just one time. You got a coda here. So it just drops from here to here and then to the ending. So I will use this to sort of signal where we are in the song. If you're still with me, thank you, by the way. Like and subscribe if you'd like to do more of this and chat about jazz with each other. Yeah, listen to some good music. For now, let's listen to Jazz Crimes. Yeah, that's it. So sick tune, eh? Webster and playing that song again. I think it's great. It's just a top quality tune, super funky, super cool, and like there's a reason why it gets played at like jazz recitals at college and stuff all over the world, because it's just such a rad tune. I didn't mention at the very start, but like a lot of those sax lines are overdubbed. So Josh has gone back and sort of transcribed them and then sort of harmonized them, which is why they sound sick. So look, hopefully it's chill to kind of hang out and listen to music. Thanks for watching this video, getting to the end. I've taken to just playing the music in the videos, because like it doesn't matter if I get, no one's giving me copyright strikes. They're just, copyright claiming the music, which is fine. And it means we actually get to listen to tunes. I feel like you get so much more out of learning about a song, but then also being able to listen to it a lot. Like those two things go hand in hand, and I just think it's more valuable if I can just do it all at once. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment down below. I read them all. Don't always respond, but I read them all. If there's anything in particular you'd like to check out or any topics you want to explore, I'll keep them in mind for the future. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, year, month, whatever. And I'll see you next time.